One of the hardest lessons I had to learn as an entrepreneur had nothing to do with strategy, marketing, or money. It was boundaries, and not having them cost me more than I realized. For most of my life, I didn't even realize I had a boundary problem. So for me, I grew up with traumatic experiences as a child. And because of that, I believe that I always searched for a way to find peace as protection. This is something I learned from my therapist. I compromised how I felt on the inside so that I can maintain peace on the outside. That's typically what happens to kids who go through things. It makes sense because you're trying to survive in an environment. And if that's the way you learn how to survive, those are habits that you tend to keep with you throughout your life. It started to show up for me when it came to money and when it came to my female relationships. I lost my mother at 13 years old. So in these relationships with females and money, a lot of the times I've allowed much more than I should have. And when I analyze how I've been in the last 8 years as an entrepreneur, I realized also that that habit has leaked inside of my business. I thought I was just easygoing, flexible, someone who could work with anybody. But when you grow up in environments where you're trying to maintain peace, you learn how to ignore what's happening inside of you. So instead of honoring how I felt, I learned how to adjust. And that showed up for me as a lack of boundaries. So let me tell y'all, when I started my business, I said yes way too often. I didn't charge what I should have. I didn't hold the line with clients. So saying yes to things you shouldn't, letting clients push timelines and scope, not valuing your time, being available all the time. What you think gonna happen? What happens is your business starts running you, just like it ran me. So for me, it looked like burnout. I was burnt out. I was overworking. My body was literally breaking down. And the part that hit the hardest, I wasn't fully present for my family. At the time, my little baby was only 3 years old and I was doing the absolute most. So I had to come to a hard truth. This isn't kindness. This isn't about being helpful. This is about self-abandonment. And until you deal with that, no strategy will fix your business. Boundaries in business are not about attitude, they're about structure. And they show up in a few key areas. The first one is always pricing. A lot of us, especially in the beginning, price based on what feels comfortable, not based on the value of what we're delivering. So what are we doing? We're lowering our prices so people will say yes. We hesitate to increase our rates. We tend to over-explain our pricing because we're not fully confident in it. But what happens is you end up doing high-level work for low-level compensation. And over time, that creates resentment. Pricing boundaries mean you decide what your work is worth and you stand on it, not emotionally, but structurally. The second one is time. This is a big one because when you don't have time boundaries, people get used to having access to you whenever they want. This is a problem. Late messages, weekend requests. Oh, can I call you with a quick question? That turns into a full conversation. And it feels small at first, but it adds up. Now your day is being controlled by everyone else's needs except your own. Time boundaries mean you decide when you're available and when you're not. And you don't constantly make exceptions that become expectations. That's what I did. They expected me to answer. And when I didn't, some people actually get aggressive when they feel like it because you have programmed them to expect you to answer for them at any time. Okay, the third one is communication. You are training your clients how to interact with you, whether you realize it or not. If you allow long, scattered voice notes, unclear requests, or constant follow ups, that becomes the norm. And now you're managing chaos instead of leading a process. Communication boundaries mean you create structure, how clients reach you, where they reach you, what response times look like, what's acceptable and what's not. And you stay consistent with that. You put your foot down and you stick with it. The fourth one is scope. This is where a lot of people struggle again. Because you want to be helpful, so you add one more thing, then another, and then another, until what started as one service turned into 5 for the same price. Scope boundaries mean what's included is clearly defined, but just as important, what's not included is also clear. So when something extra comes up, you're not feeling guilty for addressing it, and you're able to say, that's outside of my scope, and handle it accordingly. So when you put all that together, pricing, time, communication, scope, you start to realize that boundaries aren't about pushing people away. They're about creating a structure that allows you to actually show up at your best and sustain your business long term. I promise you, if you don't set boundaries in your business, your clients will set them for you. And it will always cost you more. Protecting your time, your energy, and your standards, that's not selfish. And that's how you build something that actually lasts. If this helped you, make sure you subscribe, because I'm going to keep breaking down the real lessons behind building a business that actually works, especially in your rebuilding season. See you next time.